It's an 11 a.m. kickoff. It's going to be hot. It's going to be very competitive, to say the least. And I'm curious to see, what are your guys' thoughts here about this game?
Yeah, I mean, this SMU team, as Sonny was kind of talking about earlier this week, he said, look, they've improved a lot. He even said this might be one of their best teams like in the last several years. He looks at this team, he says they're physical, they're mature, they've got a lot of veteran presence on the defense, something that the TCU offense that's very young, still trying to prove themselves, is going to have definitely a tough crack at with that Mustang defense. But really looking forward to this game, hoping we can establish the rushing game as we've talked about. I mean, Amani Bailey, Trey Sanders, they've been great this season. Trying to get that game going will really help our passing. And again, just looking for Chandler Morris to once again show up on Saturday, be confident, run the ball, pass the ball with intent, and really spread the ball. Looking forward to Savion Williams and seeing what he can do this weekend.
If there's anyone that I trust to tell me if that team is the most talented it's been in years, it's the guy who recruited a lot of those veterans to that team, and that's Sonny Dykes. He knows Preston Stone quite well. He knows a lot of other guys on that roster quite well. Jordan Hudson's a guy on that offense that he recruited at SMU that ended up coming to TCU and is now back at SMU. So it's going to be a dogfight. SMU is going to come in hungry. They want this win, right? They want it really bad. They want it every year really bad. And we've seen that they've, quite honestly, have been the team that's wanted it more, I thought, the last 4 or 5 years, right? And that's different. That's a different kind of vibe than the TCU SMU games have had for a number of years.
Yeah, and I think coming off the back of what TCU did last season, making it to the national championship game, I think that's even a little more motivation for SMU to say, you know, we're here too. We're here to compete, and I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be a shootout. What Chandler Morris, of course, limiting the turnovers is going to be so critical in this game. If we can limit the turnovers, I feel really good about this game. Like I said, I think we're going to get an offensive showcase here from both sides. For the defense, it's going to be that bend but don't break.
Yep. I feel that this game against SMU, after facing that Colorado defense, or that offense rather, our defense, TCU's defense, has had a little bit of a break to relax a little bit. Obviously, two offenses that weren't too impressive, but now you come against this SMU team. Again, Preston Stone is a quality quarterback. He's someone that likes to sit in the pocket but knows when to kind of get out of there. He's got some really good offensive targets, just like we said, Jordan Hudson, former TCU guy. Too bad it didn't really work out here in Fort Worth, but now he's at SMU. We know what he can bring to the table, and really this defense needs to get pressure on SMU. I feel like that's the only way that the defense that our defense can really just bring a stop to this SMU offense. And it really starts there. If you get pressure, you put Preston Stone under pressure, force him to get rattled, hit him once, hit him twice early on, let him know that, hey, our D-line is alive and well and kicking, right? You got to do that early, establish yourself early, and then I'm hoping that the rest of the game will take care of itself.
Yeah, to be quite frank, SMU outplayed Oklahoma, and you mentioned that game, Zion, earlier. The final score is not indicative of how close that game was down the stretch. SMU played a really, really good game in Norman against OU, and I and many others think that Oklahoma is much improved from where they were last year, and that defense and that offense is really something to watch out for in the Big 12, and SMU played them really, really tough. So if that's going to be indicative of how the game's going to go in Fort Worth, then it's something to watch out for, and TCU's going to be in for a dogfight. Zion, I agree with you that there is going to be a lot of scoring in this game, I think. I don't know. It's kind of, and that's kind of how it's been for much of the last couple of games. Last year, there was a lot of offense. The year before that, it really didn't seem like there was a stop to be seen anywhere. So I think that and we'll get to our score predictions when we round out the hour, but I think a lot of points are going to be scored.
Yeah, TCU put up 42 points last year. That was a pretty high number, and I think we could totally see this game even coming down to the last second. I've said it's going to be a shootout, a lot of offense. I think it's going to probably come down to who has the ball last. Of course, special teams being able to take advantage, win the field position battle, win time of possession. All those little things are going to be really important. And I think this will be a really good test to see truly where does TCU stand. Because a win here feels really good about where you are moving forward as you resume Big 12 play. A loss might have us second guessing ourselves, and certainly there's time to bounce back. But yeah, a big win here would go a long way moving forward.
Yeah, and again, with this TCU team, right, I think one thing that I want to see them clean up is just special teams in general. I guess on the defensive side of special teams, we saw against Houston on the kicking game and in the punting game, TCU gave up a lot of return yards, and it's something where, again, we're harping on the basics because the basics are what win you the football games, right? Establish the running game, get pressure on Preston Stone, don't make silly discipline penalties, but these are all the things that players and coaches and fans will point to when you lose the games that you're supposed to win, right? And again, that's why we're harping on them, even though they're the basics of football. But this return special teams group needs to tighten up because what we saw against Houston wasn't it. But really excited for this game. Again, going back to the turnover talk, look, Chandler Morris needs to kind of work on that ball security a little more. I mean, it's been a point of emphasis, so it's not like they're not working on it. They understand that it's been a problem. But you got to be careful, especially in the red zone. We've seen way too many red zone turnovers, poor reads, and some just really poor decision making. But looking forward to TCU trying to really bounce back and continue this good run of form against SMU.